Okay, folks, how are we all this evening? Sorry, we're just a few small technical difficulties. Really looking forward to this presentation this evening. Personally, myself with Joe, it was one of the ones I've been looking at over the last couple of weeks. I was kind of looking forward to something different. A small bit of housekeeping, guys, first this evening as well. Just with the technical difficulties, could I ask that maybe we turn off our videos camera on our Zoom app just to make sure, because there's a lot of video content and I just don't want them to be delayed. So, if possible, if we could turn off our videos, it'd be brilliant. Any questions, guys? Throw them into the chat box, and I'll get you to put your mics on mute, and then we can stop and have a quick chat throughout the webinar, or Joe will be able to answer some of the questions for us at the very end. And I suppose there's not more else to do, only sit back and enjoy it. And I'll hand it over to the master himself.
Thanks, Murph. Thanks for that introduction. I appreciate it. First of all, I don't know how I got roped into this whole kick-out thing, but I think it was back maybe about a year and a half ago where Kieran had asked me about thinking about doing a kick-out booklet, because it was something that coaches sort of wanted to find out more about, and there wasn't really anything sort of out there for coaches to sort of to look at. So it took me about a year to create this kick-out booklet. There's 32 kick-outs in them. Obviously, I'm not going to show them all tonight, but we will show some of them that you as a coach obviously can take away with you and use, and work with your backroom team and your goalkeeper and your defensive unit and your midfield unit to work with, so that you have an array of kickouts. And it's not just one kickout or two kickouts that you have. We're kind of looking for teams to have a kickout strategy, and that means that you have maybe 7 or 8 different kickouts. You don't necessarily have to use all of those kickouts throughout the whole game, but if you can call upon certain kickouts at certain stages of the game, if you're looking at the opposition and you sort of know what way your opposition is setting up when you're delivering your kickouts. And it's something we're going to look at here at the beginning, because I want this to be a little bit interactive at the beginning. I hope also that your broadband connections are good, because we're going to show a lot of videos tonight. And we're also going to show, the evolution of the kickout, because I think that's important to find out, where the kickout has come from, from the 60s right up to the present date. And there are still principles that still exist from the 60s and 70s from certain kickouts that you will still use today. But obviously tactics and rules and the game has changed massively since then. So, I think it's important that your team has a kickout strategy and that everyone knows what that kickout strategy is. And part of that is having a lot of kickouts to call upon. So the first thing I'm just going to kick off with it here is, as I said, I want it to be interactive. What's happening here? Now, your screens may not pick it up, but this was from the Ulster Championship match yesterday. And this is obviously Armagh versus Fermanagh, and Armagh have 3 goals already. It's coming towards the end of the first half. And just in the chat box there, please, coaches, what's happening here? So that's a very open question. So if you want to put it into the chat box, and we'll pick up on some of the things. So the goalkeeper is about to take a kick out. This is the Fermanagh goalkeeper. So what's happening when you think about Fermanagh and you think about Armagh? Good. Fermanagh attempt bunch and break. Armagh block outside zones off. Yeah, it's very good. Anything else?
I would say, Joe, they nearly have them nearly like a cage environment, is it?
Yeah, it looks as if they have them trapped in here. And what we're looking at here is we're looking at a situation whereby this is actually Fermanagh's 6th attempt at this kick out. And the kick out is right, Peter. It is a bunch and break kick out. And I would usually call these kick outs compact kick out. The compact kick out is when your team is starting bunched up in the middle and they're about to break out. But look what Armagh have done. Armagh have completely surrounded them because Armagh know exactly what Fermanagh are going to do. So the Fermanagh players are employing this compact approach. Armagh seem to be employing a defensive zonal tactic rather than man marking. Now, we've seen some teams man mark on this approach and it hasn't worked for them. So the goalkeeper has very few options here. And that means all of the sort of passing routes are cut off. There is space here, but when I show the video in a couple of seconds, you will see that the Armagh players pull back a bit, and that means there's no spaces whatsoever down the channels. Okay, so it's very important. The reason why I'm showing this is it's very important to not just rely on one type of kick out. Okay, as a coach, you need to work with your backroom team to make sure that you've 6, 7, 8 kickouts that you can sort of deploy strategically throughout the game. And as we look at further, we've got some statistical analysis, not too much. I'm not going to bore you with that too much, but a good kick out strategy can serve as a foundation for success in all aspects of the game. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll win the game, but if you've got lots of good kickouts and variations and flexibility and adaptability, it can present itself as a launch board to win the game. Okay, so let's just move forward to the video. Now, this is compact gone wrong from Fermanagh's point of view. So let's just play the video.
The players, the Armagh players have tried to use the wind to bring it in, but it's interesting. This Fergal Quinn, you could hear him shouting the word energy, and it's something we mentioned last night in commentary for down against Antrim. We mentioned it last week, and it's the buzzword that's kind of been thrown about. But what's a concern when a manager's saying that on the sideline?
And more for the teams that are maybe the favourites, But here,
so you can see the goalkeeper has no option here
I know
because Armagh have cut off all the options and he has to go long. And as a result of that, Armagh gain possession and they just go down the field. So that was a failed attempt from Fermanagh. I don't want to be too critical of Fermanagh because they've done reasonably well in the second half, but it was their 5th or 6th attempt to go compact. So this webinar is about maximising those kick-out opportunities in Gaelic football. We're going to talk about Stephen Cluxton just before we go into the kick-outs. Now, I want to just go over what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the evolution of the kick-outs, as I talked about earlier. We're going to look at some important stats, which gives us a clear idea of what works in terms of a good kick-out and what doesn't work. Okay, we generally know that. You know that as a coach, what works and what doesn't work, but at least we've got statistics to back it up. And then most of this webinar will look at the different types of kickouts that you can use as a coach, that you can bring away with you as a coach and use them in your training sessions. You can practice them over and over. So if we have a look at the 60s and 70s, as you'll see from the video, okay, we're going to show 2 videos here. They're only 10 seconds long each. It was common practice for the outfield players to handle the kickouts during this era. So you had the fullback or the cornerback who would have taken the kickout. So the role of the goalkeeper has undergone a lot of changes over the last couple of decades. Okay, so let's just play. I think this is Meath and Galway.
Galway playing with a sluggish breeze in this first half.
So you'll see that's a player taking the kick out.
Donnelly taking the kick out. Down it comes to the centre of the field. That might go for me. He's been bottled up and he shakes up.
And it's very much a catch and kick situation. So goalkeepers haven't really developed those kick out skills yet. And it's not really seen as an advantage to have a kick out for your team. Okay, this video. Again, outfield player takes the kick out. And we have a situation where, again, getting the breaking ball, but the kick out isn't really seen as an important factor in the game. Moving on to the 70s, 80s, now the goalkeepers are starting to kick the balls out. So the Great Kerry team of the 70s, the Great Dublin team of the 80s, we're now seeing a situation where longer kickouts are bringing joy to teams. So let's just play.
20 minutes gone in this first half. Richie Connor bringing it down to a roving Brendan Lowry to Jerry Cap.
So you're seeing the Offaly goalkeeper there kicking the ball out nearly towards the halfway line, nearly towards the midfield of the pitch. So we've seen more responsibility from the goalkeeper to get the ball out as far as possible. Okay, and that shift was influenced by several factors, changes in the rules, obviously, and some advancements in player fitness and athleticism. I want to show you this video as well because this one's important. This is the Dublin kick out.
Paddy Collins kick out. Brian Mullins, what a lovely bit of field.
And that one's to Brian Mullins. And what we're seeing there is we're seeing the goalkeeper now purposely targeting a midfielder, Brian Mullins, with aerial superiority. So the kick out has developed from the 60s to the 70s. So let's have a look how it has even gone further. So into the 90s, so the great sort of Meath team of, the late 80s, that is, I think. And then we have the Kildare team of the 90s and Galway of the 90s. So the middle one will play first. Now we're into some evidence of short kickouts. So during this period, the goalkeepers increasingly opted more for the shorter kickouts and sort of took on the role as precision more than distance. Okay. However, despite this shift, you still had the long kickouts. This is a Kildare kickout, I think. Probably didn't mean that, or a Galway kickout. But again, there's still a targeting of that sort of short, medium distance type of kickout. And then we move on a little bit further. Sorry, it's the same game. Another long one. So predominantly in the 90s, most of the kickouts were long towards the midfielder. So still not a huge shift towards where we are today. Okay, moving on to the zeros or the noddies. We're now seeing those short kickouts happen. Okay, so teams have now transitioned towards a deliberate strategy of short and targeted kickouts. So now they're looking at possession rather than long deliveries. And this approach is particularly prevalent when you look at Tyrone, for example. They didn't have a great midfield back then, so they did opt for those shorter kickouts.
Very angry about it all.
And not just about mixing.
Well, they've been saying in the past that in a tight finish, Armagh would prevail.
So now the emphasis is on focusing on maintaining possession and building out from the back, because your team doesn't have a midfielder that they feel can dominate the game. So teams are now thinking about the kick out much, much more.
You can see Joe.
Moving on to the Cluxton Revolution. Well, we all know what has happened here. A young man called Stephen Cluxton comes on in the scene in the early 2000s. And I think this game here is from 2013.
Particularly well. The second half, Mayo had 7 scores and 1 wide. That's my notes tell me anyway. So that led to 8 kickouts for Dublin. They won all 8 of them. We're watching them here, one after the other. He's nearly putting them down the mouths of the Dublin wing backs and midfielders. And this was always a worry for me. If he started going long and out to the wings, the pace of our midfield.
Okay, so now we're seeing the kick out is now used as a lethal weapon to control the game. And Stephen Cluxton has obviously brought that in. Okay, so I think this is where we are at the minute in terms of our kickouts. So just looking at some stats. Now, this is taken from a data and analytics performance kickout distribution. And I think this was done in around 2010. So it's about 12 years, 13, 14 years old. Shorter kickouts and kickouts to the wings are most effective strategies that will improve the likelihood of regaining possession and attack building. Okay, and I think that's something that we all agree with. This is from 2010, so quite a long time ago. Now I want you to draw your attention to the average kick-out time and the stage reached of the competition. So we'll see that Tyrone have an average kick time of 25 seconds, and they won the Ulster final. Monaghan got to the final, and theirs was next. So you see a pattern emerging here, and it's quite simple, and it's something that we see all the time, and we say it to our goalkeepers all the time: try and get the ball out as quick as possible. And the average kick time, if it is lower, then that generally leads to more possession of the ball. Distances and kick-out success. This is from another study, which I'll quote from later. And I just want to draw your attention to the top line, and that's retained possession. So the percentage of retained possession. So when the ball is kicked out to the 21-45 meter line, possession is retained 87% of the time. So short kickouts mean possession is retained. You go a little bit further, 58%, it drops from 87 to 58 if you deliver that ball between the 45 and the 65 meter line. So now you're sort of gambling. And then if you're getting it out past the 65 meter line, it's at 53%. Okay, so the point here is the longer the ball is in the air from the goalkeeper, the further the ball goes, the more of a lottery it is that you're going to win possession. Okay, and I think we could all agree with that. Now, I just wanted to focus in on Dublin before we have a look at some kickouts. So this is from 2017-19 championship. And Dublin is the one that I want you to look on, because obviously Dublin is the team that we all sort of look to in terms of complete performance, but also their kick-out performance is excellent too. Now, of all the short kickouts, they won 98%. So that's kickouts before the 45 meter line. So from the 21 to the 45 meter line, they're winning 98% of their kickouts. Now, that's an astounding figure. Now, there might be reasons behind that, because you might think, well, teams tend not to press Dublin. So if you're not pressing Dublin, then obviously you're going to win a lot of your kickouts. So teams sort of sit off Dublin and they they get into their defensive shape, and then they wait for Dublin to come at them. So that might be a little bit behind it. But then there are teams that do press Dublin a lot. So short kickouts won 98%. So you really have to win your short kickouts past the 45. They're quite good. They're 66%. So 2 out of 3 past the 45, they're still winning them. And that's obviously the Cluxton factor. But it's not just him, it's also his defensive unit and all the coaching that goes behind that. So that was why I wanted to point that out to you, because of Dublin's dominance over the last sort of 15 years. So the evidence is clear. If you want to write this down, win your own kickouts. Win short contested kickouts. So when you're being pressed and you're going to go short, you have to have the courage to go short, and you have to go with it, and you have to win your own short kickouts. Number 3, long and targeted kickouts have huge rewards. Okay, and hopefully we will show you some of those from the videos that we have upcoming. Some long, because we are seeing teams going a little bit longer, but those kickouts are a little bit more innovative. So how to win contested kickouts? Well, you can go compact, you can go wide, and you can do all of those things, but most importantly, you have to be innovative. So before we go into the videos, I want to just show you how to deal with high press. Well, first of all, make sure that there's lots of short passing options. So that ball has to go out quick. So you need to say to your goalkeeper, you have to get that ball out within 6-7 seconds, 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds, as quick as possible. Okay. Movement off the ball, very important. So lots of dummy runs, and dummy runs present these passing lanes. And you see a lot of it from Kerry, especially. They tend to go wide on their own kickouts, and that gives them lots of passing lanes, or alleyways, as I like to call them. So players can run into those alleyways and collect the ball. Also, when you're coaching your team, it's very important that when you're on the field with them, that you're getting the defense to act as a single unit, and that everyone knows exactly what they're doing when that kick out is coming. So if there's a call coming, and that call, people have asked me before many occasions, who should make the call? Well, that's up to your management. It's up to the players on the field. They have to make those decisions. Generally, it can be the goalkeeper. It can be the number 3. It can be the number 6. And these things can happen instinctively as well. It depends on the time of the game. It depends on the stage of the game. It depends if you're up or if you're down, or if you're looking to win the game, then you might want to get possession early on. Also, I think it's very important to understand, and as we've seen from the Fermanagh Armagh game yesterday, it's very important to understand what your opposition is doing. So the awareness of the opposition press. Are they going zonal? If they're going zonal, well, then do you think compact will work? Probably not. If they're going man marking, well, then you might think, well, actually, compact will work. And we will show that in the videos, particularly with Armagh, and I think Derry as well. We're very good at that. So we're going to go into the kickouts now, and the first one is called the compact kickout. This is also known as bunch and break. And the advantages of this are that it exploits space down the channel, so down the left channel, down the right channel. It also encourages automatic player movement. And what I mean by that is if you have a problem as a coach, and we always have this one, if you have a problem as a coach of your players not moving and you're very frustrated by it, compact is always a good one to try, because it means that the players are starting in a bunch in the middle and they have no other option but to break and but to move, because they have to move out from that middle. So that automatically means that players are going to move. It is very effective against man-marking opposition, as we'll see from the video. Not so good against zonal defenses. And there is a common misconception with this one. I would advise the players to break only when the goalkeeper is about to kick. Sometimes we see the players breaking before the goalkeeper has kicked, or as the goalkeeper is walking out with the ball, or as the goalkeeper is standing over the ball. They generally break too early. So you have to be on the field and you have to coach them to break when the goalkeeper is about to kick out. So let's have a look at a video here. So this one is called compact to right half. So compact to the right half back. So you will see the goalkeeper coming out with the ball, and the team in possession with the kick out is the blue team. Okay, so the team that's pressing is the red team. So let's just play it. So as the goalkeeper is coming out with the ball, we can see clearly that the defense is moving in compact. And what this does is this creates spaces down the left-hand side and down the right-hand side. Now you can see the red team there are going man-to-man. They're not doing what Armagh done, which was that sort of zonal, caged-in type of thing. So this is really good to use if the opposition is going man-to-man. And here we see the break happening as the goalkeeper kicks the ball out. And then the blue team is on the attack. Now, it's very important to try and create space as well for that attacker when he's attacking with the ball. So let's just have a look at it in practice, in the real world, as I call it.
And probably 3 or 4 at least of injury time to play.
Table clash in Division 2.
I would have thought more Daniel O'Malley might have been the man with that onerous task, but it's Tommy Walsh. Up today.
Spread out as far. Shane Ryan is out as well over in front of the Cusick stand to take away that side. He's overhead, everything going on at the moment. What was last year? Was it 113, 112?
Nearly into the second half here in Clovis. From the kick out by Armagh, picked up by Andrew.
Quite close to goal. It's just giving that option rather than getting everyone behind the ball to attack with a bit more.
Okay, now there are a few things that I just want to pick up here. The first thing is this is the All-Ireland final, and this is the 71st minute, and it's a draw between Dublin and Kerry. And Dublin have opted for the compact kickout, probably because they know that Kerry are pressing them and Kerry are man marking them. So this is quite a safe kick out to do, because you're playing it, and Dublin obviously want possession and then want to build out from the back. So they've used the compact kick out. Let's see what happens.
He's overhead, everything going on at the moment. What was last year? Was it 113, 112?
And they've got possession. Now, this game here, I think, is from the Ulster Championship last year, Armagh v Derry. This is Ethan Rafferty, I think, from Armagh, about to take the kick. He hasn't hit it yet, and you can clearly see that the Armagh team are still in their compact position. As we've seen from Fermanagh yesterday, as the Fermanagh goalkeeper was starting over the ball, the Fermanagh players were already out to the side, and it didn't work. So that's why I'm saying you need to be really patient with this one, and you need to only go and spread out wide or break after you've bunched as soon as the goalkeeper kicks it. So we'll just play it. You can see Ethan Rafferty, as soon as he kicks it, they're all gone.
Here in Clonus, from the kick out by Armagh, picked up by Andrew.
Quite close to goal.
Rory Began, same thing. For Monaghan, you can see the Monaghan players have stayed bunched right until the last minute. All this space here is created. And I think it's against Tyrone, who generally go man-to-man on kickouts. And that is really easy for Monaghan there, because all that space is so easy for the Monaghan player to run into. And he could use that space as well. Okay, so the key thing with the compact kick out is to break as soon as the goalkeeper kicks the ball. Try not to break too early.
Close to goal. It's just giving that option rather than getting everyone behind the ball.
Okay, so let's move on to the next type of kick out, and the next one is called spread kick out. So the spread kick out is when players spread wide. So it's when your left cornerback and your right cornerback go right to the sidelines. When your right halfback and your left halfback go right to the sidelines. And it's when your center halfback and your fullback just stay in the middle. So what you're doing is you're creating those sort of alleyways or those passing lanes that can be sort of kicked into and where midfielders or half forwards can run into. So it creates these space corridors. It's a very safe option against zone pressing, and it enables rapid attacking transition. Now, I didn't want to use that word transition because I know Colin Parkinson was complaining about it today, so I was going to take it out, but I didn't have time to take it out. But it can help your team with getting on the attack really fast. So again, we'll go to the model or the animation. Now, this is an animation. So people, sometimes coaches come up to me and say, that animation is very simple. Yes, it is. It's a model and it's simplified. It's really, really simplified. But within your spread kick out, you can adapt it or you can change it a little bit here and there and you can tweak it. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly as the animation shows it. But you can clearly see the blue team, the defense, moving out to the wings as the goalkeeper is walking out with the ball. So let's just play it. So there's the passing lane that's created, and then you have an attacking situation that is happening straight away. Now, in reality, this may not be in reality, this may not happen because this is a simplified video. But if this channel is blocked up, well, then maybe there's another channel blocked up. If the red team, so whoever's putting the press on you, the teams that is pressing the kick out, if they're going a bit more centrally zonal, well, then it might be difficult to carry out this spread kick out. And if that is the case, well, then you have to be flexible and you have to turn to a different type of kick out. So it's very important to have the awareness of what the opposition press is doing. So we'll show this in reality.
High quality attacking play by Derry.
He does a really good job, and they're on the 40, the old 40 that we talk about. That link is becoming Lee van der Wastel and the squad this afternoon. Elaine Desher bought a Prohege Kiris of players over it. Fucking Nashkan a hostel and Tusa Corrigamina Khan Leshing Glass August. It a Krahu 5 in the Hiri. Gumorvoro Sierra Kicking Ash the Bruce was Homagus, Kimi Don Son. Shane Murphy, the work of Jordan Flynn, Shane Gimmert, no Tala, who's the bliana Roy Escarfad.
Tá frente fachtige fear Chris Fillion Fan Hona agus ganine seachas dar roach chá scored
And they're on the.
Okay, so a few things from that video. I think it was Kerry. Yep. So if you look at Kerry here on this kick out, the spread, this cornerback's gone wide, and there's another cornerback here. It's Kerry again against Monaghan. Cornerback's wide, and that cornerback gets that little short pass there. And that's perfectly fine if your main objective is to get possession, because then you've got this fullback coming across, take the ball off him. Obviously, you can't give it back to the goalkeeper after the first pass, but at least they can build out from the defense. And Monaghan seemed to be putting on his own press there. So it can be quite useful if your main objective is just to get possession and to work it out from the back.
Shane Murphy, the Jordan Flynn, Shane Gimmert, no Tala, who's the Roy Escarfad.
We've got Kerry again. And again, they're throwing it out to the cornerback. And they're looking to launch their attack from that position. And they've got space to do that. So very important to make sure, and this is quite difficult sometimes when we're over here in London, we're training on a rugby pitch, so it is very narrow. So it can be quite difficult to do some of these kickouts because it's quite hard when you spread the players because there's not much space. But obviously on your own kickouts back home, please tell your cornerbacks and your halfbacks to go right to the line, because they're a bit fearful of being left out of the game if they have to because they want to be closer to the goalkeeper. So it's just about having the courage to get your cornerbacks to move out wide, and that's for the spread kick out. Okay, kick out 3. I think we're going to have 6, 7 kick outs. Is a zonal clear out. Now, a zonal clear out is a kick out which I think is a new type of kick out. It's quite an innovative one. It's been about for sort of 4 or 5 years. Teams are now starting to use it. Dublin in particular, if they're under pressure or if they're getting a big press or even a zone press, and it's quite a safe kick out. So this is when the defensive unit clears out a clearly defined zone. And generally speaking, that zone is usually from the 21 to the 45-meter line. And we will see in the video what it looks like. But it does allow your defenders to run into space. And it gives your defenders a lot of space to run into. So it can be quite effective for your goalkeeper. Let's say your goalkeeper is struggling and the long kickouts aren't working, and the really, really short kickouts, let's say the spread kickouts aren't working. This is a really good kick out for your goalkeeper if they're under a wee bit of pressure or if they're not playing well, because the goalkeeper has a lot of space to aim for, and we'll show that in a second. So it's a pressure-free kick out for the goalkeeper, and it can be effective against man marking, and it's also helpful for teams that are struggling with those long kickouts. So let's have a look at the video. Now you will see the blue team here, that is the defensive team receiving the kick out. They're all moving past the 45-meter line as the goalkeeper is walking out with the ball. So you can now see this whole zone is cleared out. And the goalkeeper is thinking, well, this is easy because all I have to do is hit either number 2, I can hit my cornerback here, I can hit my cornerback here, I can even hit my 12 here if that allows for it. So the goalkeeper has lots of options. And here you can launch your attack. Okay, so let's have a quick look at it in reality.
Sin tá sé géar an gcué a hóis ach níl an leor tá nationalker Timo Erlish and reached.
Xavi Cruciana ma gadi better cool number to him after manager to high 3 quarter 4 in Ishika.
Big games when it's still tight, and he's one of them to bring in fresh legs, and now they won't have that.
Kan een beetje grif kicks there, tiltige is Foley verstopt in de hoesje. Na die zoals de spelen voor zich.
Kick show after my face on the clean hind.
Fenton and Spruck.
So, zonal clear out. Let's have a look at the first one, which is Cork v Dublin, I think. And I think that's Dublin with the kick out. You can see, have a look at the Dublin players, if you can see it on the screen. All you can see is the back of the Dublin players because they're running away to clear out this whole zone between the 21 and the 45. And Cork don't know what to do with this one because you have a Cork player over here on the left where my pointer is, and you've got a Cork player over here on the right. So they actually think that Dublin are doing a compact kick, but it's not a compact kick. It's a zonal clear out kick. And you can see that from the video.
Timo Erlish and reached.
Xavi Cruciana ma gadi better cool number to him after manager to high 3 quarter 4
and somebody from the Cork team switches off there, and this allows Dublin to attack down the right hand side.
Big games when it's still tight, and
this is Kerry v Derry. Again, you can see this whole area cleared out
to bring in fresh legs, and now they won't have that.
Really easy possession there. This is Tyrone v Kerry. I think this is a draw. So quite a very, very tight game. Not quite sure how long's left. Well, Kerry have cleared out that zone.
Kicks there, tiltige is Foley verstopt in de hoesje. Na die zoals de spelen voor
The
zich.
cornerback has come out. Again for Dublin.
Fenton and Spruck.
And Dublin have gained possession there against Kildare. So again, you're seeing Dublin use these different types of kickouts for different types of situations. I think Kildare have gone man to man on them there, so they're using the zonal clear out. Now it's a lot of people think that it's only the 21-45 you can clear out. You can clear out other areas of the field. You can do partial clear out, so you can clear out the cornerback position. You can clear out the left halfback position, the right halfback position. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that whole 21 to 45 meter line zone that you have to clear out. What a very useful kick out. Okay, let's have a look at some long kickouts. So bypasses opponent's press. So this is your general average long kickout, potentially lethal with wind advantage. And there is a kickout whereby you can clear your whole midfield area and you can sort of hit your full forward if you've got the wind on your side. With the Irish weather the way it is at the minute, that's probably a possibility. Targets aerially dominant players and can create goal scoring opportunities by catching the opposition off guard. So let's have a look at a real life video of these long kickouts, and you will see that some of the teams have the wind and they're utilizing the wind to their advantage.
Want clear a ball going long, can they won the break? Sean McNally forced to just boot it down the middle. Oh, brilliant catch. Can he get rid of it quickly and set up something? Or will he just go for the score? He goes for the point off the right boot. Umpire.
Of his defenders when the ball was further out the field, but he retreated then into that second.
Well, Pat Hebron with the touch. Pat Hebron is an accomplished soccer player, it has to be said. But the ball was behind the whitewash, so it registers as a right.
Okay. So, just to go back to the one that caught my eye on that one was this one, the Fermanagh one. So this is a clear case of, obviously Fermanagh have the wind here, a huge wind. This is in last year's Ulster Championship against Down. And they're using the long kick out to their advantage. And if you look at the down press, it's kind of a zonal press. It's not that great, but it is a zonal press. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within their 45. So he's going over that zonal press as well. And here's another one. I think it's Rory Mason.
Can they win the break? Sean McNally forced to just put it down the middle.
And have a look where that lands. That's actually Downs. I think that's Downs 45, 65, or is it their 45? Well, it's a very long kick out. So this is a clear case of the team using a long kick out with the wind.
Catch that. Can he get rid of it quickly and set up something? Or will he just go for the score? He goes for the point.
Yeah, it's
off
a 45
the right boot. Umpire
To his defenders when the ball was further out the field, but he retreated then into that second.
Yes. Trying to get your early dominant players on the ball.
With the touch, Pat Hebron is an accomplished soccer player, it has to be said. But the ball was behind the whitewash, so it registered.
Armand as well. Okay, so long kickouts can be used as we've shown. The next one I want you to show is overhead kickouts. And these are clever, I call them quite clever kickouts. And this is when the goalkeeper kicks over an opposition player. The only thing with this one is the goalkeeper has to be really precise because the player is usually running away from the ball. So it has to really drop into the defender's hand or whoever he's targeting. So precision is crucial. It allows for a quick attack. And if the opposition are able to turn it over, well, there is a huge risk with that as well. So it's quite a risky type of kickout. So I will show it in the animation. And you will notice when the goalkeeper is coming out of the ball, you'll see that the right half back, the number 5, is coming to look for the ball. Then you'll see the cornerback, the number 2, spreads wide. But the goalkeeper kicks it over the head of the number 5. I'll just pause it there. And you can see the space that has been created because the goalkeeper has kicked it over the head of the number 5 and the number 12. And now the number 2 is on the attack. So quite an innovative kick out. The only problem is if the opposition suss you out on that one and they put players here, or if the 12 doesn't go and he knows it's a dummy run that the 5's making, well, then the 12 can dispossess and then there's a goal opportunity for the attacking team. So quite a risky kick out and, you know, a bit of pressure, but it's a challenge for your goalkeeper to try these kickouts. Let's have a look at it in reality.
Agus is tólam nuair a bhí sé déarg an cosantóir a chuir dá gur beidir gur hála ar dhéigean don ghólann an bátas nach tá súlagum go méid dóla lábal a leanún leis.
Ach, these are actually McVitie. Ich mal dressung to kill she not kick him off.
Didn't go in.
Dahan sin bhil cínte agus níl néal scoigh chateach fáil an neart taí, neart Lewis agus neart Finn agus éar Lee Rodenish.
Oh, very worthwhile, 2 open book points. That's right. Angles will act towards Jack Barry.
Beg over the black spot. Judge the win to absolute perfection. Put the ball outside the far post and allowed it to tail back in.
And all of a sudden, Mayo have opened up a 4-point lead.
They have good kick.
Miss of the match.
Straight away, you can see the energy McManus brings to that attack. They're looking for massive things from there. That's a brilliant kick out.
Okay, so I just want to go back to the Donegal kickouts in particular. I think it's Sean Patton here from Donegal. If I can just get the right one. So Sean Patton is excellent at these kickouts because it's the way he kicks the ball out. He has that low trajectory. The ball doesn't really stay in the air for that long. So it means that the oncoming player who he wants to target, it means that they can meet the ball directly and they don't have to change stride. So just have a quick look at the trajectory of this ball. So you need to be able to coach your players, your goalkeepers, how to kick these types of passes.
Brings to that attack.
Look how low it is. The ball has not gone 5 or 6 meters high. Okay, it is very low.
They're looking for massive.
And as a result, Donegal are on the attack here. So yes, you can have all of these kickouts, but you need to make sure that you're coaching your goalkeeper in every training session these types of kickouts or these types of kicks. So that overhead kick out, the key to that one is to make sure that it's precise. Okay, I think this is one of the last ones. This is called the flick on. So this is where the midfielder flicks the ball onto the forwards. This can create goal scoring opportunities, and it's very effective in wet conditions. And the reason why I say that is because if your midfielders cannot gain primary possession because it's too slippy, it's difficult to do that, and you're hitting long kickouts, well, instead of catching it, you can flick it on. So this is where the innovation stuff comes in. This is where your thinking outside the box comes in. So let's just have a look at it. I think there's only one kick out for this one, and it's Mayo kick out, if I can remember. Actually, it's Galway. It's a Galway kick out. The conditions are not great there, as you can see. Very mucky, very wet. And Paul Conroy got nearly a goal score. That would have been lovely. Down do it here in the Tailteann Cup final last year. And I think that was a goal scoring opportunity. So let's just have a look at it again. Long kick out. Purposely Paul Conroy trying to flick it on. Full forwards aware, if it picks it up, gives it back to Conroy, and there's a goal scoring opportunity. So flick on kicks, very innovative. Kick out marks. So this is when a target player takes the mark in the full. Clear space is needed for the targeted player, so you need to make sure that you're clearing the decks. Very effective against both types of systems, zonal and man marking, and the goalkeeper's accuracy is crucial. Now, I put there at the end, it may slow play under pressure. Now, you might think, well, that's a bad thing if you're slowing down your own kickouts. Actually, it might be a good thing because if you're leading the match by a point or so and you're getting a mark, well, you can slow it down, you can take your time, you can wait for your defense to get into shape. And, it can be good to slow things down if you've got that kick out mark. Now, I will show it here on the video.
Canona. See, we maar we proud the monster gaan te hobby dus hoogte cadê maar remora. Dus maar shinere.
So she's only the more O'Brien Hurley. August shin talk or copy like Tommy Dick Brian Hurley the cooking me no sinisha or Doris Hannah or Stephen Sherlock or Minch Comata Hannah Corbett August Palomani. So the shin talk not with him very bad.
He's punchy, so we'll see Kieran Duffy's on him at the moment. That will be one keep it.
Very good way along the far technique, kicking a more of a mock shot.
Okay, so quite a straightforward that one. The key with that one, I think, is to make sure that you're clearing the decks for the player that's been targeted. Out to in kickouts, ball is delivered to player from the sideline, enables a quick attack with momentum. The goalkeeper's precision is crucial, and it can be a surprise kick out for opposition. So this is quite a new one. I think I've only got one for this one. But this is when the player comes in from the side and uses his own momentum to make the attack.
Good. Yeah, big kick, has been one of their main score getters for this year. But again, that was his first kick of today. And again,
So I'll just show you that again. So the
Good.
Cavan player starts in the
big
wing.
kick,
It's the Cavan right
has
half
been one of their main
forward, the
score
right half
getters
back.
for this year.
So he's moving in. The Cavan player is moving in towards the ball. So he's going from out to in. And that means that he has that momentum to up the field rather than catching the ball from in to out, which will bring him away from the goal. So it sets up an immediate attack.
But again, that was his first kick of today. And again, one he'll be happy
There you
with.
see Cavan in the attack.
Outrageous catch.
So quite a good array of kickouts there for you to use. Obviously, you don't have to use all of them, but as I said at the beginning, it's important that you employ this kickout strategy. So just to finish off, key components of an effective kickout strategy. First of all, you need your goalkeeper to be accurate, and that's very important. So the key component of effective kickout strategy is definitely the goalkeeper's accuracy in delivering those balls to the designated targets. So that precise kicking will ensure the ball reaches its intended target. And it also minimizes the risks of any turnovers, and it also maximizes your team's ability to get possession. Timing. So when we're talking about timing, that's crucial for executing the successful kickouts that we've talked about. Now, the goalkeeper must make sure that he assesses the situation quickly and that he releases the ball at the right moment so that he can exploit those openings in the opposition's press. So the proper timing allows your teammates to make sure that effective runs have been made and positions the team to sort of capitalize on any scoring opportunities. Player movement, we've talked about that. There are certain types of kick-out types that sort of allow themselves to make sure that players are moving. So players must anticipate what the goalkeeper is going to do, what the goalkeeper's intentions are, and they must make intelligent runs to receive the ball. And that can be dummy runs as well. We've seen that overhead kick. And that allows your team to sort of transition smoothly from defense to attack. Defensive coordination, this is where you're treating your defense as a unit. So that ensures the players are positioned correctly so that they support the right type of kick out. So if it's compact formation, that will minimize space and it'll keep space out to the wings. So very important that you sort of treat your defense as one single unit. Awareness of opposition's tactics. So yeah, understanding the opposition's press and tactics is crucial for making sure that you've got a good kick-out strategy. So your team must be aware of whether the opposition employs a zonal or a man marking scheme. And you need to know that right from the beginning. Okay, and you need to talk to your coaches and your assistant managers and so on and find out, okay, are they going man marking or are they going zonal? Because teams tend to choose either or the one or the other. So that means that you can adjust your kick-out strategies accordingly, so you can exploit those weaknesses in whatever their sort of opposition tactics are. Communication, who makes the call? Well, it can be the players, it can be the goalkeeper, it can be the coach. So I think that Fermanagh management has said to the team at the beginning of the game, all our kickouts are going to be compact at the beginning of the game. Or at half time, maybe the coach can make a call and say, okay, the next 3 kickouts we're hitting so-and-so, or the next 2 kickouts we're going to go wide, we're going to create space down the channels. So you really need to decide as a coach who's making the call for the kickout. And lastly, flexibility. So if one kickout isn't working, go to a different kickout. Okay, so it allows the team to adapt to the changing circumstances, and it allows them to exploit any other opportunities. Okay, so being able to adjust your tactics on the fly, and that can be varying the length of the kickout or the direction of the kickouts or what type of kickouts you're doing. Okay, you have to be flexible with your kickouts, and that's one of the reasons why Dublin is the best, because their kickouts are excellent. Okay, I think that's it. So, Morph, if you were there, are there any questions? If there aren't any questions, obviously, if you need to put them on an email or something, you can email me. Okay,
I am indeed. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect, brilliant. Joe, thank you very much, sir, for that presentation on maximizing our kickouts. Excellent. Personally, from my own point of view, I would be very much a visual learner.
Yeah.
So I got plenty out of that, to be fair. I really, really enjoyed that. I hope the rest of the group that have come on enjoyed it as well. Obviously, if anyone wants to pop in a question, Joe will be hanging around for a couple of minutes to have a quick chat. One thing I would say to people, if you get an opportunity to log on to DSS, Joe has a kick-out ebook manual that you can download. Purchase and download. It's on sale still with DSS. Highly recommend it. A lot of good content in it. And more than anything, I suppose it's goalkeeper is the most important part of the pitch in the modern game. And I suppose being able to be creative with your goalkeepers is really important. So don't be afraid and don't be shy to, I suppose, ask Joe questions, or even when the presentation's over, or and you have any questions, maybe you can pop to myself and I can pass them on to Joe, and we'll hopefully be able to answer them. Oh, we've a couple of things coming in here, sir. From James, are top teams using calls to determine side of kickouts, or just waiting to see what develops, Joe?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, James. I think when you look at Dublin and when you look at Stephen Cluxton, I know he hasn't obviously played this year, but over the last sort of couple of years, it seems to be instinctive, because you don't really see a clear call from Cluxton. He doesn't put his hand up, or he doesn't wave, or he doesn't do any of that stuff. I think with Dublin, it's more instinctive. And I think it's the players themselves that are coming up with the kick-out strategies in training and in the changing rooms before the game. So I think that Cluxton is saying to his team, okay, I'm going to hit a lot of such and such kickouts in the first half. I'm going to hit Brian Fenton with maybe the third kickout. I'm going to go long for the last 5 minutes of the game. Or it could be, well, it depends how the game's going. You know, if we're under pressure, well, then maybe we settle for a zonal clear out, and that'll mean that we're getting possession. So that's a good question, James. The only way we'd really know actually is if we're inside the changing rooms and we're hearing who is actually making the calls on that one.
I wouldn't mind being inside the Dublin dressing room.
I know. That'd be gold dust, wouldn't it?
All right, guys. Listen, we will leave it there. As I said, if any more questions, you can get me on our WhatsApp groups on the DSS, and I can pass on to Joe as well. Yet again, thanking you very, very much for joining, and we hope to see you again very soon for our next webinar. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, coaches, for tuning in. Thanks more for hosting.